On September 25, 1969, 29-year-old Michael Gruchy, a Wimbledon solicitor's clerk, was walking through a subway underpass near a known gay cruising area when he was spotted by 12 teenagers out for a night of queer bashing. The group had already assaulted 2 other people who managed to escape, but Mr. Gruchy wouldn't be so lucky. Having spotted Gruchy, someone shouted, "Charge!" and the teenagers set upon him. He managed to reach the gates of a cemetery before being caught, knocked to the ground, and brutally beaten with wooden planks. The teens kicked and punched him about the head and face until he was dead. Bragging by the teens led the police to their doors. In the end, the eldest of the group, an 18-year-old, was sentenced to life. 3 others were sentenced to serve at Her Majesty's pleasure. The rest of the teens were found guilty of possession of offensive weapons and sentenced to 6 months to 5 years in custody. The reporting of Mr. Gruchy's murder was one of the first times the UK press began using queer bashing, changing the tone that homosexual attacks and murders usually commanded. On Friday, July 29, 1972, around 11 p.m., 52-year-old Leonard Bestwick of Cheshire, England, and his mountaineering friend were celebrating a trip to Switzerland they would take the next morning. Walking home, Mr. Bestwick stopped into a public toilet while his friend waited outside. In a dizzying series of events, Mr. Bestwick's friend saw Bestwick streak past him, followed by 2 young men, a 16-year-old and his 22-year-old accomplice. Bestwick had been accosted in the toilet in an attempted robbery. He had been struck with a hammer and stabbed. Fleeing his attackers, Bestwick left a 100-yard trail of blood, ending outside a public house. At trial, the elder of the 2 confessed that the 16-year-old had supplied the knife and hammer and that they had set out that night to roll a queer. In the end, Mr. Bestwick lost his life. His sister lost her caretaker. The 22-year-old defendant received a life term, while the 16-year-old was sentenced to serve at Her Majesty's pleasure, a sentence commonly given to young offenders convicted of murder. These are just 2 examples of the rise of attacks against gay men primarily in the 1960s and 70s in the UK, just as they rose in the United States. It also can't be overstated how much the criminalization and homophobia led to attacks like this. With reported attacks against LGBTQ+ folks on the rise, these 2 stories remind me of that Mark Twain quote that history never repeats itself, but it does often rhyme. Please subscribe to the channel and share.